Welcome to the New News with your host Olivia Jane, where we discuss what the hell is going on around the world and how it affects the average person like you and me. On this week's New News, the House of Commons will soon debate a proposed law to legalise physician-assisted suicide for terminally ill adults. A bill packed with rules so strict that dying patients may wonder if it's more red tape than relief.
My fundamental opposition comes from the fact that I think disabled people are incredibly vulnerable in society at the moment. There seems to have been an onslaught from all angles, and I think this leads to an incredibly high risk that pressure and being made to feel like a burden would lead people to take decisions they wouldn't otherwise take.
The Terminally Ill Adults End of Life Bill, due for a vote on the 29th of November, would allow terminally ill residents of England and Wales to end their own lives, provided they meet a laundry list of requirements. Candidates must have less than 6 months to live, be registered with a GP for a year, and make 2 notarized declarations, all while being evaluated by 2 doctors, a High Court judge, and potentially half of Parliament. The process includes 2 rounds of assessments and a final 14-day reflection period before the person can self-administer the prescribed substance. And for those wondering, no doctor will be forced to participate, nor will they be allowed to administer the medication directly. Politicians in Jersey and the Isle of Man have already moved forward with their own assisted dying laws, while Scotland has a separate bill under discussion. For now, England and Wales await the November debate where lawmakers will decide if the dying deserve a choice or just more hoops to jump through. In shocking news, Israel has failed to meet the US deadline to boost aid to Gaza. But don't worry, they're trying. Just not enough to actually meet the target. On October 13th, US Secretary of State Anthony Blinken set a clear demand: 350 aid trucks into Gaza daily. Fast forward to the deadline and Israel's only managing about 40 trucks a day. Progress, right? Israel insists it's doing its part by opening new crossings and blaming aid agencies for mismanagement. Meanwhile, Gazans are still fighting over bread, and soup kitchens are the last hope for survival.
Trucks carrying humanitarian aid were allowed to cross into northern Gaza on Monday. The move comes just days after global food security experts warn there is a, quote, strong likelihood that famine is imminent in areas of northern Gaza. And it also comes as the United States makes a determination on whether Israel has made progress toward improving the humanitarian situation in the Gaza Strip.
The UN calls out Israel's responsibility as the occupying power to get aid through safely, while Israel points fingers at looters and logistical hiccups. Despite the mounting crisis, the White House predictably seems more focused on military support than cutting off aid to Israel, leaving the humanitarian situation in Gaza to fester, one underwhelming truckload at a time. Next up, in a victory for corporate responsibility, Shell has overturned a Dutch court's demand to cut its carbon emissions by 45%, with the court agreeing that Shell is under no social standard of care to cut emissions to any specific degree.
Shell argued that the ruling would force it to shrink its business without any benefit to the fight against climate change.
The Hague Court of Appeal ruled that while Shell should ideally be reducing emissions, no clear target needs to be set. This decision rolls back a 2021 ruling that dared to suggest a private company align with climate science, a stance Shell deems impractical for any corporation interested in the bottom line.
And that's where this appeals court said that's not possible. They can't put a specific figure on it or compel Shell to reduce its emissions by a certain percentage because it says, running down this immense judgment, basically there isn't a figure that exists worldwide that has stated the exact amount that companies have to reduce their emissions by to comply. So because those figures don't exist, essentially, I hope this is layman enough, the court can't put a figure on it, and therefore it has rejected all of Friends of the Earth's requests.
Environmental groups Friend of the Earth Netherlands, which championed the case, called the ruling a setback for the planet and vowed to keep pushing the case, possibly to the Supreme Court. Meanwhile, Shell assured critics it's serious about lowering emissions at a pace only slightly faster than glaciers. Shell's position? If emissions seem slow to decline, perhaps governments could lobby themselves for stronger policies. As Shell continues its journey towards net zero, observers wonder, will real progress come before the climate clock runs out? Now, is there anything more British than curling up with a cuppa, watching once great celebs eat bugs, sleep on the floor, and fight with each other over rice? That's right, I'm a Celebrity is back, and this year's lineup actually looks good. Talisa, GK Barry, but I'm most excited for Colleen Rooney. Her level of pettiness and revenge is what I aspire to. Tune in for the first episode on the 17th of November at 9 p.m. And lastly, after a challenging health journey, including quietly battling cancer, Kate Middleton has returned to the spotlight at 2 Remembrance Day services, where she showed resilience despite mixed reactions. The Princess of Wales has faced some criticism for her time away from public events, yet few knew she was overcoming a private battle with cancer. Now, with her return, royal fans are rallying to her side, reminding critics that sometimes there's more behind the scenes. Kate looked well at her first appearance, signalling her commitment to public events and honouring veterans.
Princess Kate back in the spotlight, joining her husband Prince William and father-in-law King Charles for Remembrance Sunday this morning. The royals out in force to honour the UK's fallen soldiers.
As she steps back into her royal duties, supporters are calling for empathy and prayers for Kate's recovery, emphasising that strength and resilience deserve our admiration, not judgment. Kensington Palace has expressed gratitude for the support, noting that Kate is eager to resume her work in areas she's passionate about, even as she continues on her path to full health. And that has been this week's New News. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you next week on the New News. Bye!